A commercial servicing vehicle moves through low Earth orbit toward a communication satellite that has refused its request for inspection. The target belongs to a private company. Its signal supports civilian users and military customers. Its owner has ordered the approaching vehicle to withdraw. The vehicle continues. At 100 kilometers, the encounter is still an abstraction. At 10 kilometers, it becomes an operational problem. At 500 meters, it becomes political. The servicing vehicle begins transmitting diagnostic commands toward the satellite. The first command fails. The second command enters the flight computer. The satellite turns away from Earth. Its communications payload loses alignment. Service begins to disappear across the region below. No weapon has been fired. No hull has been breached. No crew has crossed from one vessel to another. Yet control has changed hands. The central question is simple. What has occurred? The answer is far less simple. The act may be described as theft. It may be described as cyber intrusion. It may be described as coercive interference with a registered space object. It may be described as an attack. It may also be described as a technical error by the party that caused it. That final description may be the most useful one for the aggressor. The strategic character of space piracy will arise from this ambiguity. The decisive action may appear commercial. The responsible actor may appear private. The damage may appear temporary, yet the political effect may be profound. The popular image of piracy is inherited from the sea. A vessel pursues another vessel. Armed men board. Cargo is seized. The pirate stands outside lawful authority. Every element of the crime can be seen with the naked eye. Orbital seizure will seldom be so courteous. A spacecraft may be taken without occupation. It may be disabled without destruction. Its orbit may be changed through a command transmitted from Earth. A hostile actor may gain access through a maintenance credential that was created years before the incident. The attacker may never approach the target. The attacker may never leave his chair. This is the essential strategic problem. The first age of space security was concerned with destruction. The next age will be concerned with control. The distinction is greater than it appears. Destruction creates evidence. It creates debris. It reveals intent through consequence. Control can be temporary. Control can be denied. Control can be returned after the political objective has been achieved. A state may prefer to hold a satellite hostage for 6 hours rather than destroy it forever. The act may look less violent. Its strategic meaning may be more severe. Piracy has always emerged where authority is weak and commerce is valuable. The ocean produced piracy because wealth moved through spaces that no government fully possessed. Distance created delay. Delay created opportunity. The pirate lived inside the interval between injury and response. Outer space contains a similar interval, yet the similarity must not be overstated. Maritime piracy has a defined legal history. It involves violence or detention or seizure for private ends. It generally occurs beyond the territorial jurisdiction of a state. It also assumes that the pirate acts without lawful state authority. Orbital interference may satisfy none of these elements. A spacecraft may remain under the control of a state intelligence service. Its purpose may be strategic rather than private. It may never touch the target. It may interfere through software. It may operate under a valid national license. It may carry the flag of legality while conducting an act that would be intolerable in any other domain. This is why the language of piracy can clarify the political character of the act while obscuring its legal character. The more useful question concerns authority. Who has lawful control over the target spacecraft? Who authorized the approaching vehicle? Which state registered each object? Which state supervised the operator? Which government bears responsibility when a private company performs an act with strategic effect? These questions lead away from romance and toward power. Under the central structure of existing space law, a state retains jurisdiction and control over an object that it has registered. The object does not become ownerless when it enters orbit. It does not enter a legal wilderness. The territory around it belongs to no state. The object itself remains tied to one. That distinction creates the basic architecture of the dispute. A foreign spacecraft may fly nearby because outer space remains open to use. It may observe. It may maneuver. It may occupy a path that causes anxiety, yet it may not thereby acquire lawful control over the target. The line between approach and interference will become one of the central legal boundaries of the space age. The problem is that the boundary is not marked by geography, it is marked by conduct. A state cannot claim a national zone around every satellite. Such a claim would contradict the principle of free access. Yet the same state must be able to protect its object from unauthorized docking or command intrusion. The legal order therefore confronts a paradox. The space around the satellite is free. The control of the satellite is not. This paradox will shape future conflict. Consider a servicing vehicle that approaches within 10 meters and holds position. It makes no physical contact. It transmits no command. Yet it forces the target operator to spend fuel on avoidance maneuvers. It causes mission interruption. It raises the risk of collision. It may reveal sensitive design features through close inspection. Has the vehicle violated the law? Perhaps. Yet the answer will depend on concepts that remain poorly developed. Due regard, harmful interference, fault, consent, responsibility. These principles exist. Their operational meaning remains uncertain. Strategic actors prefer such uncertainty. An aggressor rarely seeks a legal vacuum. A vacuum creates alarm. An aggressor prefers a zone in which several legal interpretations remain possible. That zone slows consensus. It divides allies. It gives the responsible state time to deny intent and demand further investigation. Ambiguity is therefore not a defect of orbital interference. It is part of the weapon. Registration provides the first point of legal connection. It does not provide a complete answer. A modern space mission may involve a satellite built in one country. The launch may occur from another. The owner may be incorporated elsewhere. The ground network may operate across several jurisdictions. The command software may be maintained by a contractor who has never met the owner. Now place a hostile command inside that structure. An engineer gains access through a compromised vendor account. The command passes through a cloud service in another state. The ground terminal is located in a third. The target satellite is registered by a fourth. Every government can claim an interest. None may possess the whole case. The state of registry may assert that its jurisdiction and control were violated. The state of incorporation may assert injury to one of its companies. The state where the command originated may assert criminal jurisdiction. The state where the server was located may possess the evidence. The state that licensed the servicing company may face international pressure. This legal fragmentation mirrors the technical structure of the mission. The satellite may be singular. The authority surrounding it is distributed. This is where space law and cyber law begin to overlap. They do not merge cleanly. Cyber law asks who entered the system. It asks which statute was violated. It asks where the evidence exists. Space law asks which state retains jurisdiction over the object. It asks which state authorized the activity. It asks which government bears responsibility for the private operator. The same event can therefore create several legal proceedings at once. The operator must recover the spacecraft. Investigators must preserve logs. Diplomats must assess attribution. Military leaders must determine whether the event is preparation for a broader campaign. Insurers must decide whether the loss is cyber-related or political or military. Each actor works on a different clock. The spacecraft may need recovery within minutes. Evidence may disappear within hours. Diplomatic attribution may take months. Litigation may continue for years. The aggressor benefits from the difference. A reversible operation can produce immediate leverage while delaying legal consequence. The victim must respond before the event has been fully classified. This creates a strategic asymmetry between action and interpretation. The side that acts first defines the crisis. The side that suffers must define the law. That is a poor position from which to negotiate. The corporate form makes the problem more difficult. A private company may possess a valid license. It may advertise repair services. It may maintain relationships with several governments. Its spacecraft may conduct routine missions for years. Then one operation crosses an invisible line. The company may claim error. The government may claim ignorance. The insurer may claim exclusion. The target owner may claim hostile seizure. Every party speaks a different legal language. The aggressor can hide inside that confusion. This is why orbital piracy may appear first as a commercial dispute. The legal documents will be cleaner than the conduct. A company that seeks to exert control over another spacecraft may never describe the act in military terms. It may call the operation inspection. It may call it hazard mitigation. It may call it emergency intervention. Words can function as maneuvering thrusters. A small change in language can move responsibility a considerable distance. The central principle must remain consent. A spacecraft owner retains authority over the object. A servicing company does not acquire control merely because it possesses the technical ability to approach. Capability creates opportunity. It does not create permission. That principle becomes difficult when the target has failed. A silent satellite may threaten nearby objects. Its operator may be unable to respond. A servicing company may claim that immediate action is required. The company may offer to move the object. The owner may refuse, because recovery remains possible. The dispute then becomes a contest between hazard and sovereignty. Who determines whether the danger is real? Who decides whether intervention is necessary? Who accepts liability if the rescue causes greater damage? A state that allows private operators to answer these questions for themselves will eventually discover that commercial judgment can become foreign policy. The matter becomes more severe when physical contact occurs. Consider a satellite that has stopped communicating. A servicing vehicle approaches without authorization. It attaches to the target. It changes the target orbit. It then announces that the movement prevented a collision. The owner calls the action unlawful. The servicing company calls it rescue. The authorizing state calls for technical consultation. The target state calls for compensation. The language appears procedural. The underlying question concerns power. Who has the right to touch an object in space? Ownership does not disappear when a spacecraft fails. A dead satellite does not become free property. It may still contain sensitive technology. It may still contain valuable data. It may even retain strategic use. A failed military spacecraft may reveal sensor design. A commercial satellite may contain proprietary systems. A foreign operator that docks with such an object may gain intelligence even if it never removes a component. This is why the analogy to maritime salvage is incomplete. At sea, a disabled vessel can be rescued because the danger is visible and the legal tradition is mature. In orbit, the physical condition of the target may be uncertain. The political value of the target may exceed its commercial value. The rescuer may also be the intelligence collector. The same robotic arm can preserve property or seize it. Technology does not announce intent. The legal order will need to judge behavior before the full purpose of the mission is known. This is an uncomfortable requirement. Law often works after the fact. Space security may require judgment before contact. A servicing vehicle that closes within 10 meters of a strategic satellite creates a problem, even if it has not yet violated a clear rule. The target operator cannot wait for the arm to close. The military commander cannot wait for proof of hostile intent. The regulator cannot rely on a contract that applies only after damage occurs. This is the security dilemma of orbital servicing. One state develops a vehicle to refuel its satellites. Another state sees a system that can disable theirs. The first state describes the mission as commercial. The second state treats it as latent counterspace capability. Each reaction makes the other more suspicious. No party needs to desire conflict. The structure can generate conflict on its own. The danger lies in dual-purpose capability. A vehicle that can inspect can also surveil. A vehicle that can refuel can also restrain. A vehicle that can remove debris can also move an active satellite. The difference rests on command authority and political intent. Both may be hidden. This is why licensing regimes will become instruments of national strategy. A government that authorizes a servicing operator also assumes responsibility for continued supervision. It cannot grant permission at launch and then look away during orbital operations. The licensing decision must therefore address behavior. How close may the vehicle approach without coordination? What evidence of consent must exist before docking? What abort capability must remain available? What communications must the operator maintain? What records must be preserved after an incident? These questions may appear technical. They are constitutional questions for the orbital order. They determine who may exercise power and under what restraint. A licensing system that ignores them is built for an age when satellites did not interact. That age is over. Let us consider a complete scenario. Meridian Orbital Services operates a robotic servicing vehicle. The vehicle is licensed and registered by State A. Its software team works in State B. Its ground station is located in State C. A commercial imaging satellite named Horizon belongs to a company in State D. Horizon is registered by State D. It supports agricultural mapping during normal operations. It also supplies imagery to the armed forces of State D during a regional crisis. Meridian requests permission to inspect Horizon. The owner refuses. Meridian approaches anyway. At 50 meters, Meridian begins detailed imaging. Horizon performs an avoidance maneuver. Meridian matches the maneuver and remains nearby. No contact has occurred. No command has been transmitted. Yet Horizon is forced to consume fuel. Its imaging mission is interrupted. Its operator begins to fear that Meridian is preparing to interfere. State A claims that Meridian is exercising the freedom of outer space. State D claims that Meridian is conducting harassment. Both arguments contain elements of truth. The freedom to operate in space cannot mean the freedom to impose unlimited risk on another object. Yet the owner of Horizon cannot convert its orbit into national territory. The dispute turns on conduct. Meridian now transmits a diagnostic signal. The signal exploits a flaw in the Horizon receiver. The satellite enters safe mode. Meridian claims that the signal was intended to test communications compatibility. The Horizon operator claims that Meridian conducted an unauthorized intrusion. At this point, the political meaning of the event exceeds the physical effect. Horizon has not been destroyed. It may recover. Yet State D has lost access to imagery during a crisis. The temporary loss may influence military decisions on Earth. This is the essence of strategic interference. The action in space gains its meaning from the decision below. The classification of the event now becomes decisive. If State B treats it as a criminal act, then the response may involve prosecution and sanctions. If State D treats it as an internationally wrongful act, then it may demand cessation and reparation. If State D treats it as an attack, then the range of possible responses becomes broader. Each classification carries risk. A criminal response may appear too weak. A military response may appear excessive. A diplomatic protest may reveal helplessness. Public attribution may expose intelligence methods. Silence may invite repetition. The aggressor has placed the victim inside a narrow corridor. This is why reversible interference can be more useful than destruction. Destruction simplifies judgment. Temporary control complicates it. The satellite may return to service before diplomats agree on what occurred. Yet the political objective may already have been achieved. Meridian may even apologize. The apology would change little. It would allow State A to present the event as a failure of procedure. The same act could then be repeated elsewhere by another company with another explanation. The international system often develops rules after repeated violations. In space, that delay may establish a dangerous custom. What states tolerate becomes part of the operating environment. If unauthorized approach becomes routine, then resistance will appear provocative. If command interference is treated as mere cybercrime, then strategic coercion may hide below the threshold of armed response. If emergency intervention is left undefined, then powerful operators may move weaker states' spacecraft under the language of safety. Law does not merely punish conduct. It also teaches actors what they can expect to survive. The absence of consequence is therefore a form of instruction. Would the law of armed conflict apply to the Meridian incident? The answer depends on context and effect. If the states are already engaged in armed conflict, then Horizon may qualify as a military objective if it contributes to military action, and if its neutralization offers a definite military advantage. Yet Horizon also civilians users. This dual purpose creates complexity. The interference may avoid debris. It may still create serious consequences on Earth. The loss of imagery may affect civilian disaster response. The loss of communications may affect hospitals or financial systems. Orbital cleanliness does not equal strategic restraint. A non-kinetic operation may be preferable because it creates no debris. It may also be attractive because it conceals the severity of the action. The international debate has often focused on destructive anti-satellite weapons. That focus is understandable. Debris threatens many operators. Yet a future contest may rely more heavily on seizure and disruption. A state may prefer to turn a satellite away from Earth rather than destroy it. It may prefer to alter the orbit by a small amount. It may prefer to corrupt time signals for several minutes. It may prefer to disable a payload while leaving the spacecraft intact. These actions can create military effect without producing the visual clarity of an explosion. The legal system must therefore move beyond the idea that harm requires broken hardware. Loss of function can be decisive. Loss of control can be even more decisive because it reveals that the owner no longer commands the object. Command is the essence of possession in space. A satellite cannot be occupied in the traditional sense. It is possessed through authenticated instruction. Whoever controls the command pathway controls the machine. The theft of a satellite may therefore occur through credentials. This changes the meaning of defense. Protection must begin inside the architecture. Command systems must record every access attempt. Authentication must resist spoofing. Servicing interfaces must limit authority. Emergency channels must be designed so that a rescuer cannot become a captor. Evidence must also be preserved. A state cannot defend its legal position if the spacecraft cannot prove what occurred. Telemetry logs must support reconstruction. Ground stations must retain command records. Proximity data must document the movement of nearby objects. The satellite must be designed as a future witness. This may appear secondary to mission performance. It is not. In a contested environment, the ability to prove interference may determine whether allies support a response. The technical record can become diplomatic capital. A spacecraft that cannot preserve evidence may survive the incident and still lose the argument. The insurance market will reinforce this pressure. Many policies divide loss into categories that do not fit orbital seizure. A cyber exclusion may remove coverage for command intrusion. A war exclusion may remove coverage for state action. A physical damage clause may fail to recognize temporary loss of control. The operator may then discover that its satellite has been taken, while every contract insists that nothing covered has occurred. This gap will force change. Insurers will demand stronger command security. Lenders will demand clear servicing protocols. Governments will demand records. Operators will demand consent clauses that define the exact scope of access. Commercial necessity may produce rules before diplomacy does. That outcome would be familiar. International order often begins with practice. Formal law arrives after the powerful have discovered which practices they can live with. Should the term piracy be retained? Yes, yet it must be used with discipline. The term captures a predatory act committed against another spacecraft. It captures the seizure of value beyond ordinary territorial boundaries. It also captures the danger created when commerce expands faster than authority. Yet the term does not create jurisdiction by itself. A prosecutor cannot rely on historical symbolism. The offense must be defined in law. Unauthorized command access must be prohibited. Unauthorized docking must be prohibited. Intentional interference with guidance must be prohibited. Manipulation of orbit without consent must be prohibited. Coercive proximity operations must be addressed through clear standards. The law should describe the behavior rather than worship the label. This approach will disappoint those who desire a dramatic doctrine of space piracy. It will satisfy those who must operate satellites. The essential question is not whether the offender resembles a pirate. The essential question is whether the law can stop the offender before control is lost. National law will play a central role. States can require servicing operators to obtain consent before close approach. They can require notice. They can require abort capability. They can require the preservation of evidence. They can impose criminal penalties for unauthorized interference. International law can then build upon these practices. The state of registry retains jurisdiction and control. The next task is to define what acts violate that control. This will require agreement on proximity and consent. It will require agreement on emergency intervention. It will require a process for attribution. It will require political acceptance that temporary loss of function can constitute serious harm. None of these tasks is easy. Yet strategic order does not emerge from ease. It emerges when states decide that uncertainty has become more dangerous than restraint. For defense leaders, the central danger is escalation through ambiguity. A close approach may begin as an intelligence concern. It can become a force protection crisis within minutes. Commanders will need authorities that address reversible interference before physical destruction occurs. Rules designed only for missiles will fail against software. Space domain awareness must also become more than positional awareness. Knowing where an object is located does not reveal its intent. Operators must understand ownership and mission history. They must know whether coordination occurred. They must know whether a request was refused. Behavior creates context. A servicing vehicle that approaches a willing customer is performing commerce. The same vehicle that approaches after refusal is creating coercion. For commercial operators, the decisive issue is command integrity. Cybersecurity cannot end at the ground network. Every maintenance credential must be governed. Every servicing interface must be limited. Every emergency mode must be examined for abuse. The contract must reflect the architecture. A vague maintenance clause can become a path to unauthorized control. A poorly defined rescue provision can become permission for intervention. The fine print may appear harmless until a robotic vehicle arrives. For policymakers, the near-term task is practical. A grand treaty may take years. Licensing rules can change sooner. Governments can require explicit consent for docking. They can require notice for close approach. They can require incident reporting after unauthorized command attempts. They can require a vehicle to withdraw after refusal. These national rules can create shared expectations. Shared expectations can become customary restraint. The objective should be to make the line visible before a crisis occurs. The international system must also clarify state responsibility. A government cannot license a company and then deny every consequence of its behavior. Authorization carries supervision. Supervision carries responsibility. The private form does not erase the political effect. A corporate spacecraft may become an instrument of state pressure, even when its employees never receive a military order. The government that tolerates the conduct may benefit from it. The victim will judge the state by what it permits rather than by what it admits. This is the older truth beneath the new technology. Power is often exercised through ambiguity because ambiguity divides resistance. Space will not escape this pattern. The first age of space law asked who could enter space. The next age will ask who may act upon another object once there. Who may approach? Who may inspect? Who may dock? Who may issue commands? Who may move a spacecraft that no longer answers? These questions arise because spacecraft are acquiring hands. For most of the space age, a satellite was isolated. It launched, it operated, it failed. Other spacecraft rarely came near it. That condition produced a legal order built around registration and liability. It did not produce a mature law of interaction. The technology has moved ahead. Servicing vehicles can now approach with precision. Robotic arms can establish contact. Software can transfer control without physical touch. The law will therefore confront a fact that engineering has already established. Spacecraft can exercise power over other spacecraft. The first indicator to watch will be licensing. States will begin to define consent for approach and docking. The second indicator will be insurance. Policies will begin to recognize loss of control as a distinct category. The third indicator will be diplomatic language. States will begin to describe unauthorized command access as an intrusion upon jurisdiction and control. When that language appears, the legal order will have entered a new phase. Until then, the greatest danger may come from an actor who never fires a weapon. It may come from a licensed vehicle. It may come from a valid credential. It may come from a single command that moves authority from one hand to another. The first space pirate will not need to steal the satellite. He will need only to prove that its owner cannot command it. This has been Orbital Estimate, End Transmission.